members. So first up, you're going to hear from Sharita with the Kentucky Harm Reduction Coalition. Hi, I'm Sharita Walden. I'm the Executive Director for Kentucky Harm Reduction Coalition. As I thought about what Attica, asked us to share our thoughts on, I thought about all the amazing work that a lot of our community partners that are here today and the ones that I work with in the community around harm reduction. I thought about how much amazing work we get to do in our community. When I reflect on how much amazing work Department of Corrections, incarceration facilities, when I think about whether the amazing work is happening, I get very disheartened to hear that there's an investment of potentially $400 million into a new jail system. The problem with that is if we continue to pour money into incarceration of folks, if we continue to pour money into jail systems, where is the money that goes into the work of harm reduction and treatment and recovery efforts? I know that we've been given numbers and we've been told that, yes, there's funding for that. There's funding opportunities. Yes, there's $7 million. Well, why couldn't we have a little bit more of that money towards prevention efforts? Towards supporting some of the local organizations that are here that are helping to prevent further criminal behavior, to address poverty, to address all of the issues that are the root cause to why people do some of the things that they do in times of struggle. If we continue to support an effort like a new jail, I want you to think about that, a new incarceration system, a new way to put people into cages. If we support that, what we're saying is that we do not truly have faith and belief in harm reduction. We don't have faith and belief in our treatment efforts in this city alone. One of the things I found interesting is that in 2021's data for Kentucky Department of Corrections and institutions like our prison system, the 43.66% of the population are incarcerated for drug-related offenses. 43.66. What programs have you been promised to say that $400 million for a new jail is going to work? Programs inside of a building that's not going to produce. We already know. We've seen what happened. We've seen deaths occur in our own local Department of Corrections right here. And when we look at places like On Point in New York, where they have the overdose prevention centers, right? And they're preventing overdoses. They're also impacting positively the criminal rates around their area. I went there. I'm not speaking about what I think. I went there and saw them and speaking about what I know. I am completely impressed with On Point services and what they provide to the community, not just the community of people, of participants, but the community that surrounds it. So the neighbors, everyone gets to be involved in the services they provide. That's what we're talking about pouring money into. Pour money into prevention efforts, into socialization, into ways to address the ACEs. Remember all the data, all the stuff that we collect for SAMHSA and all our other grantors? All that information? Give us money to address the root cause of the problem, and then we'll start to see a decreased rate in our crimes. See, it's directly related. If a mom is struggling to feed her kids, but she has to also put gas in her tank, and she also has to pay for childcare, which is astronomical, right? And she has to pay for her health care. She has to pay her copay. She has to pay her rent. She has to pay her LG&E. She has to pay her water. What is she left with? So you know what? Walking out of the grocery store with a few groceries might be an option because I can't afford to do anything else. You guys, we are addressing crime. We're addressing the symptom of the issues. We're not addressing the issue. We're not going to bring down the rates. People are fighting each other. Crime has gotten ridiculous. People are in a desperate situation, desperate times, desperate measures, folks. So what are we talking about? Addressing the human problem. I'm tired of coming to these press conferences and these rallies and talking about our issues. You guys, our state provided data. This is my last point. Our state provided data saying that we had a 5% decrease in the overdose death rates in the state of Kentucky. When you look at that data, each of you, it is your job and your obligation to go research. Look at the data. You will see that the data does not indicate a 5% decrease across the board. In fact, there was an 8.15 increase in the Black community alone. And if you look at the data even further, because it only had white, Black, and other. I kid you not, go look at it. White, Black, and other. White had a decrease. Black individuals increased and other increase. So that means all people of color, we are almost at 11 to 12% increase in overdose death rate since last year. You guys, this is not good. We're in a crisis. We're not in a crisis where we need another jail. We're in a crisis where we need to support community partnerships. We need to support communities that are trying to take care of themselves. And we need to hold these larger organizations accountable to working with us, to collaborating with us. And guess what? Since we got awarded, we got notice of awarding of our funding from the opioid abatement, I've had multiple organizations reach out to me and say they want to collaborate. So it does work when you hold people accountable. What is our city going to do? I'm still waiting for word for when our funding is going to be released from Metro Council. What is our city going to do? Because if we don't get it, we potentially will have to cut back services. And what does that mean? That means that we're going to continue to deal with some of the issues that we're talking about today. So I am not telling you that I do not care about crime. I come from a criminal justice background. My parents were both Chicago police officers, detectives. They're retired. I also have a stepfather who's a Black Panther member. So I believe in community and taking care of ourselves. I'm not saying we do not do that. I'm not saying that we don't protect ourselves. I'm saying that we provide what we need to help each other, and we can protect ourselves. Public health is public safety. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shrita, for that. She's absolutely right that this is about caring for one another. This is not about providing the Louisville Metro Police Department with a new headquarters. This is not about providing the jail where there have already been 15 people who died in the past 13 months with a new jail. This is about how do we take care of one another. So I want to read you something. We're going to give this to y'all afterwards. This is our statement on the proposed jail. And if y'all will recall, the Department of Justice said in its review of the pattern and practice at the Louisville Metro Police Department that LMPD treats Black people differently than white people, even when they engage in the same conduct. These disparities result from LMPD's decision to concentrate low-level enforcement in predominantly Black neighborhoods, as well as LMPD's selective enforcement against Black people throughout Louisville. LMPD's discriminatory enforcement harms Black people, but you want to reward them with hundreds of millions of dollars for a new jail? It makes no sense. No new jail. No new jail.
No new jail.
No new jail.
No new jail.
Next, I want to bring up Dynasty from Dove Delegates.
Jails and prisons do not make us safer. My name is Dynasty Davidson, and I work with Diverse Options, Voice and Empowerment, also known as Dove Delegates. Research has shown us that jails and prisons do not make us safe. And oftentimes, they are also not a deterrent from criminal activity. And oftentimes, it seems that they are only a punishment for being poor. According to the Prison Policy Initiative, of those incarcerated in local jails, only around 25% are in there for violent offenses. The overwhelming majority of people incarcerated in our local jails are in there for property, drug, and mental health or substance use offenses. It seems that those we are incarcerating are not actually a threat to our society, but that they are victims of a system that leaves them scraping to make ends meet, that takes away their abilities to engage in mainstream economies and the ability to provide for themselves and their families. Jails only exacerbate the current conditions of our most vulnerable and marginalized communities. And the negative impact is not just for the individual that is incarcerated, but for their partners, their children, and other family members that may look to them for support. Because we know that when someone is incarcerated, very rarely does it only affect that one person. This creates a cycle of incarceration and hardships that could have been very easily deterred by having the basic needs from the very beginning. What are better ways to spend $4 million? Money could or should be spent on adequately supporting and staffing mobile crisis response units. Money could or should be spent on investing in communities that have been marginalized and disenfranchised, thus granting equitable opportunities to those people in those communities. Money could be spent on mental health and substance use resources. I could honestly go on and give you a list of all the things that Louisville needs and the $4 million could support, and what the $4 million could support. For $100 million could support. Let me get that all the way right. But I think you get the picture. It is also very, very, very important to note that building a new jail creates the need to fill it to justify its existence. That leaves us with our most vulnerable at risk for increased contact with this system. Now is not the time to be reactive. Now is the time to think critically, strategically, and intentionally about what we value in our city. If we value community and public safety, then it is time to invest resources into ensuring that communities have what they need to not only survive, but thrive. That is how you keep communities safe.
Okay, Dynasty, let them know. Thank you so much. You said two things that really resonated with me. One is, when you build a bigger jail, you have to fill it up. And the co-conspirators in this are the state legislature. Because when they took away the ability for us to bail out people through the bail project, they set us up for what will happen if there's a new jail. Because there will be more people incarcerated and stuck in incarceration because they live in poverty and cannot get bailed out without the bail project. So Frankfurt is a co-conspirator. The other thing that you said, Dynasty, that resonated for me is that the impacts on families, on children in particular, of incarcerated parents cannot be ignored. I've shared the story of the fact that I grew up with my father incarcerated in the Louisville jail for most of my life, and incarcerated in prisons throughout Kentucky. Starting as a child, he was incarcerated because we throw away our kids instead of getting them the support that they need. I don't want any other child to have to go through what I went through growing up and having that absentee parent because they were in a cage rather than the comfort of their home, especially for low-level petty offenses. I want to acknowledge all of our, before I bring up Mahogany, all of our co-signatories on this statement. They are all Black-led organizations. Most of them are here. Not all will be speaking officially unless they want to, and we would welcome them to do so, but I won't call them out. But I want to acknowledge the ACLU of Kentucky, Black Leadership Action Coalition of Kentucky, Change Today, Change Tomorrow, Delegates, Forward Justice Action Network, Kentucky Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression, Kentucky Harm Reduction Coalition, One Vision Inc., Clay Cousins Collective, and Vocal Kentucky. And next you will hear from Mahogany from Clay Cousins Collective.
Greetings, everybody. My name is Mahogany Livers, and I am the Director of Programming for Clay Cousins Collective. I would like to start by sharing that our mission is to build a village around our children. And we also understand that with development, youth development, brain development is not completed till around 26 years old. And so if we're talking about building a youth detention center, our children's brains are not even developed to understand a lot of the things that are happening. And so if we are not taking that $400 million and investing into not only the youth and understand their development, but also their wraparound services for their families. As one of my sisters stated, if you have a parent that is trying to adhere to just the basic needs, they may have to work 2 or 3 jobs. So it could be possible that children are left to take care of themselves. And so that is what we need to respond to. I would like to share my own story. My brother is still currently incarcerated and has been in the system since he was about 8 years old. So that includes being diagnosed with ADHD, right? And then getting put into those classes that, to me, marked him as a school to prison pipeline participant. So not only did he continue to get in trouble without those reentry services, without those wraparound holistic mental health needs, basic needs, he continued to go down. So whether whether we are surrounded by the wrong people or at the wrong place at the wrong time, it is still not fair to our youth to have to be participating in this system. So I'm gonna start now. So what opportunities for youth who are at risk to get reentry support? What would they be coming home to? If we were knowledgeable of the youth reentry programs and have family support systems, imagine how he could have escaped the school to prison pipeline. The plan should use best practices just like in every other area of advancement and should include the implementation of reentry programs for youth, release to alternative programs, and again, wraparound services for families. I must assert that we should vehemently oppose this endeavor to invest $400 million into a new justice for juveniles. A new facility for juveniles. Let me make one thing abundantly clear. The intention behind these programs is admirable. The desire to offer support and rehabilitation for our young individuals entangled in the justice system is a noble goal that we should pursue. However, channeling a staggering amount of resources into the construction of a new detention center is not the answer. It's misguided and ineffective approach that fails to address the root cause of juvenile delinquency. If we choose to proceed with this investment, we risk perpetrating a deeply flawed system that disproportionately affects Black and brown communities. Stats consistently reveal that these communities bear the brunt of our current justice system's failings. So pouring more money into a facility that primarily targets minority youth will only exacerbate the injustice they already face. Instead of focusing on a larger facility, we should prioritize allocating those funds towards proactive measures that will address those issues faced for our youth. Investing in prevention and rehab programs, we can break the cycle of incarceration and promote positive outcomes for our young people. There is a wealth of evidence demonstrating that investing in community-based programs and services significantly reduces recidivism rates. By diverting funds towards education, mental health services, job training, and other critical support systems, we can equip our youth with the tools they need to navigate life successfully. Furthermore, we must recognize that the key to successful rehabilitation lies in the involvement and support of families. Rather than isolating young individuals in detention centers, we should focus on providing comprehensive services that engage families and, again, address the systems that they face. I am not alone in my concerns. Our very own Mayor Craig Greenberg explicitly stated during his campaign that he would not invest taxpayer dollars in new correction facilities. He has reiterated this commitment in his conversations with LSURG representatives and publicly at community forums. We are counting on Mayor Greenberg to stand on his promise and remind him of the importance of redirecting those funds towards sustainable and meaningful solutions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mahogany. I think what you've heard is that so many of these issues that we're facing in our communities are connected, from paying people poverty wages to inadequate housing to intentionally breaking apart families to collusion between local and state government to keep people incarcerated. So we want to make sure that folks have a chance to go into Mayor's Night Out on time at 5:30. So we want to leave these last few minutes open for y'all to ask questions of the organizations that have signed on to the joint statement. So if everybody who signed on wants to come up together, that'd be wonderful so that we can answer any questions from local media.
Just to be clear, are you all in favor of the new jail at all, and you just want to see some of that money that's going to be spent on that diverted to prevention and other programs, or are you completely against it?
So the statement reads that we are opposed to a new jail. Now, if folks want to respond differently, you're welcome to do so.
Then as a follow-up, so there's an old jail right now, and what I've heard is terrible. Would a new jail be better for the people because there's always going to be a jail and there are going to be people in there. Would a new jail be better for the population inside to have something that's more modern, maybe better for them as opposed to what they've got now?
A new cage won't address the issues that we've talked about, whether it's struggling with addiction or whether it's any of the other issues, land issues, environmental issues, anything that we've talked about. A new cage won't address that. So no, we don't need a new cage. What we need to do is make sure that we stop putting people in the one that we have.
That's right.
I just want to respond to that. Amber Duke with the ACLU of Kentucky. I think that we have to imagine things a lot differently than we have. So when we're talking about a $400 million facility, which none of us here support, that's a facility that you got to get bonds for. It has to be designed, it has to be built, it has to be staffed. So when people are putting forward this false dichotomy of we have to have a new jail, they're bad conditions, people are dying because they're in this facility, you can't snap your fingers and have a new jail pop up, right? So what we are saying, we have to prioritize the people who are there now. This community is in a crisis. We have had an unprecedented number of people who have died at Louisville Metro Corrections. It's a crisis. All of the attention and focus that's been put into these studies, that's been put into reports of why we need a new jail, all of that attention and focus needs to be put on caring for the people who are currently incarcerated at LMDC. We know that their health care is substandard, and those are the things that need to be fixed and that we need to spend our resources on.
Thank you, Amber. Thank you.
I just have one question. You guys also brought up the Youth Detention Center. Now, these are two different buildings, obviously. I've not heard. I just talked to the mayor's office a little bit ago. They said there is no plan for a jail. But there is obviously the detention center that is being reinvested in. Are you guys talking about both of those or one or the other? That's where I got a little.
So I am talking about the youth detention center. My time in Frankfurt, actually attended the, when they had legislation for the Judiciary Committee. I literally was in the room watching the committee as they hear stories from families that have youth that are affected by it. And, you know, the main response was, we want to bring our children home. Okay, we can attest that, yeah, we want them close, but what are they coming home to, right? There's racism that's alive and lit well, no matter if you're in Louisville or in Danville, right? And so if you are, again, investing this money into youth and not into the development of said youth, so when they get 18, they're equipped with those skills to not have to go back to an adult center. That's what I'm speaking to. And I think that's what should be very much emphasized and highlighted, because our children are the future. And again, the school to prison pipeline is real. I shared my brother's story. And so I want to leave it with that.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
So we are here at the Mayor's Night Out. It's a series of events, thank you so much, that the mayor's put together so that citizens can come out and meet, him, his family, and his staff, and discuss the direction that he wants to go with Louisville, yada, 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 yada. Right, PR move, beautiful sentiment. But a number of Black-led organizations have come together to hold a press conference just outside the entrance to discuss their distaste for $400 million being invested into a new jail. There's a lot of abolitionist organizations within Louisville, Kentucky. It seems like the overall message here was we don't want jails. In particular, we don't want a new jail. There was a little crowd that gathered out here. Kevin Traeger and I believe a couple Metro Council members, they did watch a little bit of the press conference. I assume they're not going to be giving comments. But yeah, so just a little bit of what's going on here outside the African American Heritage Center. Let's take a look. You can see there's a Mayor's Night Out sign. And some more, the leaders, some organizers here today. All right, so yeah, just want to go live, give you those details, let y'all know what was going on here. I'm not going to bother going in for the mayor's event. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of mainstream that'll get some coverage of that, but it's not necessarily the Riot Hard cup of tea. So we're going to go ahead and drop the live. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Please make sure that you share. Get that stream out here because we need people to see the information that has been disseminated here. But yeah, again, thanks for tuning in. We're going to go ahead and drop it out. So until next time, everybody stay strong, stay safe.